What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PixelPlay Sidequest, your bonus content here on YouTube. Adam, aka CS Radical, joined as always with Jin and Chris, aka Chris. We are finally at the end of this generation with the PS2. One generation to go, man. We're almost there.
This has been my favorite, set of side quests. Like, not even just that we've done, but like even ones that I've watched on YouTube. I've gone back and rewatched some of these, and it's like this has been such a fun journey. God, I love
And
this.
it's royally screwed your backlog even further.
I don't even got to talk about that. But yes.
No, that's what the main show's for. So yeah, we are on the PS2. I'm gonna boot us right up with. Okay, what do you think could possibly be my first pick?
In truth, I think it's going to be the bouncer.
You would think that, but no, because I'm gonna throw a massive curveball at you.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever heard the game Disaster Report?
I know the name. I do know that name. I could bet you I would recognize the box art too.
So Disaster Report is essentially a natural disaster survival game, where
Okay.
it's kind of like a short stint of you trying to escape, maybe it's a crazy earthquake and the city's going to shit, or there's a flood coming or something like that. And I remember getting so into it when I played the original. I played the demo for the fourth one, which is the most recent one. It's a pile of dog shit. With that being said, we're not talking about whether it's going to be a good remake or not. We're just assuming all remakes are going to be good in this alternate universe. I look at what you could do with today's tech in making a, let's say, 4 to 6 hour, survival experience where it's not crazy over the top gameplay. There's no combat. It's just storytelling and you just got to survive. And with the way that we can have with graphics and storytelling and the way that voice acting has evolved over the years, this is essentially what Hellblade is in a way, but you would just be putting into the sense of if it was the day after tomorrow, And
Yeah.
initially, my first thought was, well, JRPG after JRPG for this console. And then I remembered this game and went, dude, this would be the coolest fucking $30, $40 experience right here. Now that we're starting to get games that are actually being priced differently than the usual 70 to 80 bucks.
Yeah, this would be the perfect AA game.
And I look at something like this and go I'm actually surprised no one's really taken a crack at doing it, better than Disaster. Because look, if you ever have a chance, Chris, look up Disaster Report 4, see the graphics, and realize that when that game was released, it's not that far off from today. And it looks like a PS3 game still. Barely. You know how Trails games look about a generation behind? This game Disaster Report feels like it's almost 3 generations behind still, and controls like it too, which is just really sad.
Yeah, no. Especially I think that you have a perfect comparison there with Hellblade or something, because that's a very atmospheric.
Yeah, it's not meant to be a over the top actiony game. This is literally just a lot of it is walking around. There's a few bits in here, places where stuff falls over, or you're trying to escape the bridge collapsing, like you can see on screen here. But for the most part, it's really just about the tension, right?
Yeah. And I think that'd be such a good piece of storytelling. Fantastic. I think this is a great idea. I love this idea, to be honest.
And I mean, obviously, you can do some more stuff with it. Again, if you really want to go out there and have crafting and stuff like that, I'm sure there's something else you could do with it. But even just realistically, it's just 4 to 6 hours. Try to live that. That's it. Don't worry. Don't think too much about it.
Yeah, because I feel like we need more of these type of games where it's very story driven, focused, as an art medium, more about the storytelling and the visuals and the art presentation versus just the actual action packed gameplay where it's press this button to attack and blah blah blah. I think we excuse me need more of these. So I love this idea a lot.
That was the reason why it ended up being my first overall pick, because I'm fuck going with the usual suspects. I mean, we'll talk about JRPGs in a minute here. Don't worry. But I look at something like this and go, I not only do I want this remake because I love the original anyway, but this is so far in comparison different to so many other games out there that this would be a massive breath of fresh air as well.
100%. 100%. And I'd play this in an instant. I could see myself buying that, like, and actually wanted to play it as soon as possible. So I'm in. I love that.
All right. Well, what's your first?
Well, I'm just going right out the gate with what I really, really want the most, and that's Radiata Stories. I'm just going with it. I knew you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. I wasn't sure if it was one or two, but you know,
It's going to be my number one. Screw it. Like, I'm just going right out the gate. This to me is back in the day when JRPGs were extremely unique. There would be a lot of like new IP coming. Like, sure, they all had similarities with, they might be anime style, turn-based, similar like tropes in JRPGs, over the top, like positive, even though it's the end of the world and you're still making stupid little jokes and everything. But the thing is that the game, like, it never had a sequel, it never had anything. Like, it was just a JRP that just came out. It was this one-off, and it was perfect. It was like a fairy tale kind of setting. It was like humans versus like fairy tale creatures. There was a war. It was even at a time where you'd think on the PS2, you know, not very common, but it had a branching story path where you could choose which side you wanted to be on. Like, did you want to side with the humans? Did you want to side with the fairy tale people? And it played out from there. Obviously, this gives off extreme like Tales of franchise vibes
yeah,
and
I
everything.
can't imagine why you would have loved this game, given your taste.
And honestly, this was way before I even tried a Tales game. I didn't try a Tales game till PS3, which was Tales of Grace's F at the time, and which is one of my favorite RPGs ever. But this one actually started it for me, and I never even realized it, right? It is just such a good game. It's got great storytelling. It's that perfect blend of just like goofy humor and funny tropes, but also like engaging gameplay, engaging story. You know, the graphics honestly like do still, in my opinion, hold up. I think that
Yeah,
obviously
the style actually works pretty well, all things considered.
yeah, if somebody told me this was like a new-ish Tales of game and I didn't know what Radiata Stories was, which I bet you a lot of people listening to this episode may not even know what this game is. It does look like a fairly modern Tales of game. Now,
It
obviously
almost
not.
looks like an indie game when you really think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, an indie game, a Tales of game from like early PS4, maybe people could see, and it's only a PS2 game. Like, obviously they could clean it up, higher fidelity, higher resolution, higher everything. But this is just a series that was made and then they just never went back to. And there's so many of these JRPGs like this back in the PS2, especially, right? So this to me is one that needs to come back. I think a remake would be perfect, or remaster, or anything along those lines. Bring the series back, and then that could even open up for a sequel, and it'd be another franchise that could kind of speak to the current JRPG audience that really has like Final Fantasy, which is getting less and less JRPG every release, and maybe Tales of and Trails, but it's like these big series that are going, and not a lot of extra on the side. Like, it's, if you don't want those big franchises, you're not getting much in terms of these JRPGs, right? So I think that just bringing in something that was unique and bringing it back, like, I don't know. I feel like the JRPG community would love it, but mostly it's that I haven't had a chance to play this game since PS2, and I would love to have it back. And there is no way to get it unless you emulate it or find a very old copy of the original PS2 disc, and then either have a PS2 or an original PS3 that can play PS2 discs. Like, it's never even come back even as a re-release, as far as I can tell, on anything. So I just want Radiata Stories back. I just want it back.
Yeah, it's one of those ones too that I do remember a lot growing up as well. It hasn't stuck to me nearly as much as other JRPGs, so it wouldn't fall remotely onto like my top 5. But like, given how many JRPGs are on the PS2, like it's kind of a difficult competition, all things considered. So
Yeah.
well, speaking of such, well, here comes my first JRPG, and that's Shadow Hearts From the New World. You could put any Shadow Hearts game in there, period, but From the New World is the one that I associated with the most. And it's also like a game that reminds me of, you know, the combat doesn't just have to be attack, item, fight, and then watch. Like, this system has a ring system where you can determine whether your attacks hit or even get a critical out of it. Similar to kind of how Expedition 33 sort of did their combat, with just without the ring. It's just the timing aspect, right? So there's definitely a part of it there where it was a very interesting decision. And to me, it's also just, look, Kaylan already hates JRPGs enough as it is, so I don't really have to think too hard about it. But that being said, this game is balls on fucking ridiculous for a Japanese game.
Oh, I wish Kaylan we could just record him with a playthrough of this. It'd be
like
so good.
the party at this point in the game that you see on screen is essentially a 14-year-old like New Yorker who fights with a little tiny knife that ends up lightsabering, and he also scans people by shooting them with a camera. By the way, this takes place in like the 20s, and I don't mean the 2020s. I mean 1920s, like Al Capone 1920s.
The original 20s.
Then you have two Native Americans, one of which is literally like an Aeon. She just transforms into a summon. And another guy who he fights with martial arts and revolvers called Gung Fu. That's a thing.
That's the original Gung Fu before John Wick made it cool.
And then an American ninja who fights with anything he can put his sword hilt onto, whether it's a cactus, a bus stop sign, a fucking marlin, whatever he can find, he makes it work. And on top of that, you'll have other party members like a giant sentient cat who is a big Hollywood star that is essentially the Jackie Chan of cat actors and is a drunken master. It's amazing. And also a vampire. Now, the vampire is a cool gimmick. So she has 3 forms, and depending on what form she's in, based on, because she has a mechanic where she can feed on enemies. So she'll have 3 forms. She'll have her normal form, which is just like, a mesh between magic and power. But if you eat too much, she becomes like this really fat, like anime blob of a character, but it's just like super strength. But if you eat specific enemies where it's like, she turns into a bat and she's all magic power. So like there's a point to actually messing with it. And I'm sure there's like another character I might be missing, although that might actually be it. I just can't remember off the top of my head because it's been such a long time. But like, the characters there are wacky. I've played a bit of Shadow Hearts Covenant, which is the second one. It has its weird stuff. I didn't play enough of the original to know if it does get really wacky or not. So, I mean, realistically, I like all 3 of them back. But if I had to choose, like, this one's the one that just stood out to me because it has a lot of historical referencing. And also, it's, like, as a geography guy, it also made me really interested in certain places. Like, there's a big bit in Peru here with the Machu Picchu ruins where I got really in-depth on that. I actually wrote a sociology paper about the kind of referencing that historical landmarks have in games and like certain other things that it kind of translates into. So it's really cool how that's kind of gone out too. But yeah, this is awesome. This is one of those ones where like a nice fresh coat of paint, up the frame rate, and then obviously maybe improve the voice acting a little bit because it's kind of But also, it was kind of a comedy JRPG, so you can only expect so much. But either way.
Yeah, that was a great game. I remember playing that one back in the day, too. I don't remember much about it. I would love to go back and replay it.
I honestly, even if it never got remade again, I just want more games to take on systems like that where it's a little more in-depth, but without being too complex. Because it's not complicated. Yeah. Like as soon as you start getting the timing down, it's pretty easy. Status effects can screw with it a little bit. But that's the nature. That's the other thing, too. Status effects aren't like, oh, you take damage. There are status effects where it reverses the wheel, or it speeds up the wheel, or it slows down the wheel, or it really thins out the criticals and stuff. So, like, there's so many interesting things it does with it that doesn't require you to have to relearn a bunch of things. Which is, again, like Expedition 33, if I have one complaint, it's how many different things you have to remember with each different character. This one is just literally, there's the part where it hits, there's the part where it criticals, and here's all the other parts you don't want to touch.
Yeah, it was a good system. I remember like perfecting it back in the day. I could get it like every time, almost with my eyes closed. It was so good.
All right, what you got?
So my next one, it's not a single game, it's a trilogy, and I'm just going to throw it all together. And that's another JRPG. I'm just going hard in JRPG. I'm not even going to slow down. It's the Xenosaga trilogy.
I was about to say, I'm like, as soon as you said trilogy, I'm like, well, that kind of narrows it down.
Yeah. And the thing is like, again, this is another PS2 JRPG set of games. Back in when on one system you could get an entire trilogy.
Can they at least agree to pick one graphic style, though, for that trilogy?
I am so glad you said that
And
because
keep it to
that's
the
one
first
of the
one.
reasons. And keep it to the first one easily. The more realistic look of the second and third, no. The first game had the best art style for
Because
sure.
it was way more anime-esque, so it worked really nicely in its favor.
Way more.
Especially with
Yeah.
Cosmos. Oh my god, she looked like a badass motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
the
So
new one, she just looks like a supermodel. Like
it was,
what's so
no.
different about her?
It was not as great. It was nowhere near. Yeah, she became like the supermodel. The anime style worked so much better, especially for her, Shion. Like it was just better all around. Um, so not I'm glad you said that because I would one of the things I would desire very much from this remake is a single art style like the first game, unified across all three games. I'd be fine if they had a toggle where you could choose which one if you started the game, like which of the art styles you want. I'm sure there's some people that did like the second or third best. I am with you on that. The first game was by far the best. When they announced the second game and it had fully changed from less anime to slightly more realistic, I was so upset. Like the game had a completely different look, and I'm like, why do games constantly do this? Where it's like you have one type of game, and then for the sequel, they just want to completely change it and like remake the first one. Like you already had such a good game, keep it in the same universe and just expand on it, not change it, right?
And I mean, also like
So
the
yeah,
first like 5 hours of the first game are fucking incredible.
incredible. Absolutely incredible. The world building, the story. Now, obviously, this is like a spiritual successor to Xenogears, which is like one of the best and one of
Can
my
I almost
favorite
hot take this?
JRPGs. Yeah,
This is what Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within wishes it was.
that's not a hot take. That is facts, what you just said. That is a straight fact that this should have been Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. I've never thought of that, and now it's all I'll be able to think of when I watch this. Um, yeah, like the trilogy was so good. The story, I remember like stuff that would like happen throughout it and what like they would reveal certain things and certain characters and the stuff that was going on with them, the action scenes, even if for anybody like obviously seeing the video right there where Shion comes running around the corner and like obviously they were setting up for some fight and the bullets fly all around her and you're like, holy crap, is she about to die? Like it was such a great way of doing their storytelling. The game was very hard on cutscenes. I remember actually once in like the late 2010s, I actually watched all the cutscenes on YouTube. I hadn't seen played the game. I couldn't really play it in an easy way. So I
Honestly, the
actually
voice
watched all the
acting was
cutscenes.
pretty good for that era too.
The voice acting was great. The cutscenes were great. Obviously, anybody looking at it now will be like, well, it looks, not as great. This was a PS2 game. Like for a PS2
And I
game,
think it only makes
this
me more
looked
mad that
real.
they went the realistic way because the way that like the cutscenes work, it really does. Like honestly, I'll even hot take it further. Don't do 3D anime. No, go turn this into full 2D anime because this could be really fucking neat looking with the way that it is.
I would say that, but maybe keep the mechs 3D. Like everything's 2D,
Well,
but the
yeah,
mechs are
like
3D or
you would
something.
have
Like
like
do
that
something
faux
cool
like
like that.
2.5D that a lot of mecha anime use these days.
Yeah. Like
If you
oh
could put this in proper anime form, oh my god, I'd die.
yeah, because the first game's so close to it, right? It looks like an anime, just
Yeah,
obviously
if
it's a
you just put a
PS2.
cartoon filter on this entire thing, it's basically anime.
Yeah. And I don't know. The story, like the trilogy was amazing the whole way through. The story, for the most part, held up. The only thing I didn't like was that they changed the art style of the second game. And then the third game, it seemed like they tried to go back on it a little bit. And then it changed yet again. And it's like, oh, you're like trying to merge the first and second art styles, it seems now. And it's just like, what is going on? Um, yeah, so I just love this trilogy, beginning to end. Amazing JRPGs, amazing gameplay, the mechs, the story, the characters. It has all the tropes you'd expect in like a mech anime. It's very Xenogears. It has a lot of like references as legally as possibly as they could do because they obviously it's like the same developers who moved over. They didn't get to work still at Square and they couldn't use Xenogears, blah blah blah. And after this, again, it kind of seems like they changed and had another spiritual successor with Xenoblade Chronicles. And hot take, some people are going to not like me for this. Xenoblade Chronicles is just nowhere near as good as
I've tried it.
Xenosaga.
I don't get why people like it so much. Like
I
it's not a yucking
yeah.
people's yum. I just don't personally get it. Like especially because I think the voice acting is fucking atrocious in English in that game.
Yeah, the voice acting wasn't as good. The open worldness, it's just so big and open for like no reason. It felt like an MMO that's single player. I played only the first Xenoblade Chronicles. Maybe the other ones are better, but I can't go back. Like I just know it's not a franchise for me, which sucks because there's references in that game that are kind of are like, oh, remember Xenosaga, remember Xenogears, but like now we're more of a Nintendo franchise, so no one sue us. Like, it's just the little things they can do which are great. But Xenosaga, even though it wasn't actually Xenogears, it still holds on its own as its own trilogy, and I loved the over the top ridiculous storytelling. Like, I'd go back to it in a heartbeat. I would buy this trilogy and I would disappear from everywhere. You wouldn't see me on the podcast for a month because I'd be busy beating an entire trilogy of games. I can't do just one. All three got to go. It's a package. It's a remake package of all three. That's what they need, and this just has to come back. Whatever Square or whoever would need to do. Excuse me. No, sorry, Bandai Namco was it? I think that did this one.
I believe.
No, I can't remember.
Let me go double check while you're. I will say too, the thing I liked about the combat as well is that it almost kind of feels a bit Chrono Crossy as well, with the way that like there's only so many things you can do per turn.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was very cool with that, which is like a little bit of a nod to Xenogears as well, where it had like the amount of energy you would use on attacks and stuff. And it was, oh, God, I would play this so much. I really, really
So
would.
you were half correct. There was no Bandai at that point. It was just Namco back then.
Oh, it was just Namco at the time. Right. That's what it was. Yeah.
Also, it was Monolith Soft. Yeah. I didn't realize that that's who actually was the developer.
Yeah. Yep. Incredible.
Because obviously I've never really paid attention to who Xenoblade's developers are. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still hear Ziggy's voice actor in so many games today, and I'm like, he doesn't even change his voice. It's just Ziggy. he's still doing
that these guys did Project X Zone. Good lord.
Oh yeah,
that's a game I wish they'd actually bring back, but I don't think they could do that again.
Yeah.
All right, last up. What do I use? That's the real challenge here.
Yeah, I got a few.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with another JRPG. I'm going to quickly shout out the other ones that were on the list. Bully. I know everybody's going to wish that came back.
Yep, had that on my list.
Me being the sports guy, NHL Hits 2002. Wish that would come back. And then Burnout 3 Takedown. Still like...
Oh, such good ones.
I'm still mad to this day that Dangerous Driving just didn't do what I was hoping it would, but it just was not... Didn't feel the same. It just didn't have the same vibe to it. But I got to go with Rogue Galaxy. I think like that. Speaking of games that have evolved or that have aged relatively well, actually, yeah, I could use this to be back as well.
Yeah, that was a good one. Oh,
like again, art style wise, like fantastic. Now I think the video I have up here is actually the emulator 4K re-resing up a bit.
Reskin or re-res.
Yeah. So like it
HD
actually doesn't look terrible just for basically an emulator just to automatically do it. So
oh yeah, like that's the thing with these art styles because of the textures. It's so, I don't want to say easy, but you can like just up the res so well. If the game was already widescreen, bringing it up to 4K, like a remaster would be so easy with this type of game.
And then again, another game where the voice acting is just fucking stupendous. They have, I can't remember his name, but the guy who plays a Wolverine in the X-Men cartoons is like one of the main characters in this game.
Really?
Yeah. Have you played this game?
I did, but
do you remember the guy that had like the blue coat and like the full-on goatee and shit?
Yes.
That's Wolverine.
Yes. Oh, shit. Yeah, I do not remember the character's name or anything. This was like a rental.
The only one I remember until now I see what's on screen with Steven Simon was Jaster. Oh, and Kilala, I think, is the girl. I think those are the two that I remember. But
I remember this being a very fun game. Very fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of got like, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you'll end up bringing it up, but like Dark Cloud is, it kind of has that sort of feel to it as well, where it's a bit of that third-person JRPG combat. Having like different characters with different skill sets, like obviously whether it's melee or ranged, gun attacks and stuff. And also, how do you fucking hate a game about space pirates? How do you hate games with space pirates in them? It's impossible.
It's like Treasure Planet, the JRPG.
Speaking of things that need to be fucking remade.
Yeah.
God, we could do a whole section on fucking movies that need to be rebooted too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really say too much about it because I don't remember nearly as much. Like, this is another one of those games that, like, I remember playing. I never finished, but goddamn, do I need to go back in? and just really take just a full run through of it. Who knows? Maybe at one point I'll boot up the old emulator and mess around with it again.
This is a game I would love to get back into. It's again just one that was like a unique premise, like a new IP. They were just trying something and went with it on the PS2 because people were just like trying new things. They were like, what new cool story can I create to stand out amongst all the others, you know?
Did I? Because I know it was on PlayStation Plus. Do I have it, or do I now need to go back and get? I might have to go. Shit! Might have to get extra again if I want to go back and get it. That would suck if that's the case. Oh well.
Uh,
All right. Well, you're left.
right.
What you got?
So I'll do my honorable mentions real quick as well. Dark Cloud actually was one of them. That was on my honorable mentions because I've tried
Can
to
they at least
replay
make a
that.
standalone game of that golf minigame that they had in the second game? Can they at least do
or
that?
just that, yeah. Oh yeah. Because going back, the game is a little clunky now, especially
Yes,
the
it is.
first Dark Cloud. I think it's still a fantastic game, but if it was
Realistically, I just like a
updated-
Dark Cloud 3, honestly.
or just that, yeah. But yeah, if they brought back the first two, modern controls and less clunkiness, better running animations, just, clean up the entire thing, I think that would be fantastic. I've also got a proper San Andreas remake because there's that
one that
remaster
actually works properly.
one that actually works and doesn't look worse than the PS2 original. Like, I need them to remake San Andreas. That is like one of the best PS2 games that was ever made. It's such a good Grand Theft Auto, and I'm just picturing that game remade with like PS5 even, sorry, Grand Theft Auto 5 level graphics, and I think it would do so well. Obviously, it's a GTA game, but I think they really need to bring that one back and fix the issue they had with that remaster they just had. And then I've got another one which I know is going to come anyways, but that's Metal Gear Solid 2. They're already remaking Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah,
it's
but
only
if
a
it
matter
does
of
remotely decently, you know it's going to happen.
yeah, they're bringing back 2. They're going to.
I still think it's strange that they
absolutely.
just went to 3 right away, but
I guess they're going chronologically in the story order.
I
Mark?
suppose that's true.
So I guess the next one might be 1. I don't know, but I think 2.
Well, if that's
game.
the case,
I
why aren't we
loved it.
getting the old NES ones then?
That's true. Yeah, we could get those remade.
Honestly, real talk, I'd fucking play like it doesn't have to be like fully 3D like what the modern Metal Gear Solid games, like even just making like a $20 to $30 like indie-fied version of those originals I'd take.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, so those are like my 3 like honorable mentions. I also had Bully, but you already said that one. But for me, my last one, it's going to be Dragon Quest VIII. This is again just another JRPG. All 3 of mine were JRPGs. I know I made my honorable mentions. They're not JRPGs, but my top 3 are going to be JRPGs. Dragon Quest VIII, another game that again is a great Dragon Quest game. The franchise is still going, still very popular. They've just had 11 that came out. There's all the spin-offs with monsters and whatever treasure hunters. I don't know. There's so many different Dragon Quest games now. While we wait for 12, but 8 was such a good one, and I feel like that's when it really came out of like being locked to just Japan or like being something where we would only get certain releases. Because after this is where all of a sudden, or maybe it was 7 technically, because I think that one was on like DS or something. But this is when I felt like Dragon Quest was finally coming mainstream in North America, and this game was the reason why. Like, it was so fantastic. It finally felt like Dragon Quest had been brought up to like modern consoles and had the full 3D look and everything, but kept its, turn-based gameplay. The game is incredible. The story, the characters, the premise of everything, it's just pure Dragon Quest at some of the peak. I know that for some people, this is still one of their favorites. I wouldn't say it's my favorite one, but it is so good. And it would be perfect to remake this, even just a remaster, but to bring this one back at this time because 3 is doing so well. 1 and 2 is coming in. They're working on 12 and everybody's very hyped for that. 11 was huge, very popular. And I think they could bring 8 back and do the same thing they did with 11, where they remade the game in entire 2D sprites. So you could play through in modern 3D visuals or switch on the fly, which was incredible, by the way, to just the 2D version of the game. And I think that'd be a nice way to have people want to replay 8. First, because they haven't been able to for over 20 years, or probably over About
I mean,
around
you
20
you
years.
you technically can on the PlayStation eShop, but it's literally just the PS2 copy anyway. So
It's just like
I don't
the
know if it's on the
original. Yeah,
PS5 though. I remember seeing it on 4. I don't remember if I don't know if it's put on 5 or not though.
I'll check. That's definitely something I'm going to actually check after this because playing this on the PS Portal would be fantastic. But yeah, it's a fantastic one. It would want to make people rebuy it and return to it because obviously it would have the updated visuals and all that kind of stuff. But also, if it had the 2D, switch over like 11 did, then I think people would be like, "Holy crap! I can re-experience this game, but now with a whole new, different look and feel." And switching on the fly was always so much fun to do on 11 that I think this game would benefit so much. And I mean, the visuals still hold up. It's just that it's locked behind a PS2. Let's be honest. This art style really, really does hold up because it's
You
got
could
that
very
anime
easily
look.
clean this up, yeah.
Oh, easily. So that's why I think even just making that 2D version as kind of a bonus would help sell it. But yeah, absolutely. I loved this JRPG and I want to return to it and redo it and have a nice fresh coat of paint. So bring it back. Dragon Quest is popular now.
Yeah. Well, I think that about covers it. So, I don't know which one we'll go with when we get to the final generation, but we're almost there.
Yeah, we are almost there. This is
We
what a great journey, but it's getting sad.
We are in overpriced PS3 era coming up now.
Yeah, what I want remade is the PS3 launch.
Yeah, that'd be a good start, wouldn't it? But you guys all know the drill. Like and subscribe. Share with all your friends. We really appreciate that. And don't forget to comment below with your PS2 games that you want to see get the full-on remake treatment. And assuming it's good. Look, do I think a Disaster Report remake would be good? No. Still want one.
No, you're right. That would be good.
All right, y'all. Well, we'll see you on the next one. You know the drill. Wednesdays are the main show. Fridays for the side quest. We will see you on the next one, wherever you may be. Take care. Bye-bye for now.